I said, no. I said, I'm done. Stop with the friend stuff. I said, we either together and we kissing or we're not together and we not kissing.
There's only one. There's only one. It's only one. Just only one. Just love and happiness, beauty and holiness.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode, I guess, of our... I'm going to call it a podcast. I'm giving in.
Jess has been very hesitant to call it a podcast, and I have no idea why.
I'm giving in.
She's
it's
like,
a podcast now.
That little thing that we do.
And I'm like, are we going to record the thing? And you're like, the podcast? I'm like, not a podcast, babe.
I mean, we have mics. I mean, it's very potty.
But you know what? In the last video, everyone's like, you guys should start a podcast. So it kind of solidified for me that this is not a podcast.
No, it's only not if we don't label it as one. If you didn't put it on the thing as a podcast, they're like, oh, it's just another video.
I don't know.
We're just going to label it as a podcast and then see what happens. Okay.
Moving forward. So I was going to start with a little question of the day, but let's just get on in. Because I feel like this is a good topic that... Let me just say, Jonathan and I, we have a video of when we talk about, it's a two-part. We have part one when we broke up, and we have a part two video of how we broke up. But I still constantly get DMs about like, oh, what did you guys do when you broke up? Like, how did you handle it? Like, how did you spend time with God? How did you hear it? All that. And we're not going to go into the how we heard, but people always want to ask, what did you do in the meantime? Like, how did you wait? Even though we said this already. But I did notice that people like to hear things over and over to make them feel... What is it? I don't know.
Feel better.
Feel better.
Seen.
They want to hear it again. They want to hear it again, you know?
Some of the reassurance.
Yeah, it's like reassurance. It's like, what did you do? When the whole video, 45-minute video is exactly about what we did.
And everything we did.
But we're just going to talk more about waiting in general. Like, what are you waiting for? Is it waiting to have a baby? Waiting to get married? Waiting to have sex? You want to talk about the waiting. Because we had to wait for a lot of things too. We're still waiting for things. So... I think it's very applicable, but I do want to shout out somebody real quick because she is a little bit of my inspiration for this topic. So shout out to Bree on Instagram. It's that girl Bree. I asked her because she DM'd me and she was like, thank you for your podcast or whatever. I forgot what she said. I didn't screenshot that part, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to give you the option. What do you want our next podcast to be? Is either this or what we'll talk about next week, which you guys will find out about next week. And she was like, definitely do what to do in times of waiting. I feel like this generation needs more encouragement to remain celibate and wait for marriage, especially when you're in a relationship and it's so tempting. You know, I didn't ask her if I could share that. I hope that was okay. But I think we can just get into it.
You know what I just realized? And we've been trying to figure out how like we're going to approach this for like the past like few hours.
Yeah.
But now that you were like talking about like waiting, I realized that we've both had periods of waiting even within our relationship,
like when it comes to each other.
Yeah, like
yeah.
When I first wanted Jess, and she didn't want me. There was a period of waiting, and then when
I wanted
Jess
you,
wanted
you didn't want me,
and we were in a situationship.
Don't try to brush over that. When I wanted you and you didn't want me, you try to act like
no, whatever. Yeah, sure.
Crazy.
When
Can you guys believe it?
We were in a situationship. No, I'm saying it's a little different. Like. When I wanted you, you didn't want me. There was nothing, right? When you wanted me and I didn't and I wasn't there yet.
No, there was just a time where you just didn't want me.
No, not necessarily.
You didn't want me, and it's fine.
Whatever. We were in a situationship.
Why you don't want me, man?
How come you don't want me, man? Yeah, and then the period of time when we're together and trying to wait for marriage, for sex and just all the things that married life. They're just like, we both like had to experience waiting a lot, at least relationally.
Yeah, even before you came along. I mean, I got married at 30, which is not old. I want to encourage my ladies out there. 30 isn't old, but in my family, it's pushing it a little bit because most of my girl cousins got married at like 22, 23. My brother got married at 25. My other brother, he got married at 30, but his wife got married at 25. Everyone started having kids. I was a bridesmaid 6 or 7 times before I had my own wedding. And I was always just like, God, like, what's up, man? Like, where we at? Where we at with this? Am I getting married or not? Where's my man? My man, where's my man? I was just so tired of watching everybody else get what I wanted, and obviously I had to wait because when I wanted to get married, Jonathan was 9. But I was like, what's up, God? Like, what's going on? And it's always the worst when, like, you know, my cousin Sam and her husband, his name is actually Jonathan as well. We call him JJ. She got married when she was 21 and she was like my best friend. And I got married at 30. So I got married 9 years later. Her and her husband would always be like, you know, God's saving that special guy for you. Like, it's going to come, Jess. And I'm like, don't talk to me. You got married at 21. I don't want to hear your mouth. But there was beauty in the waiting because obviously, you know, it turned out better than I could have expected.
So, okay, going back to that time, because I didn't even think about that part of it. In your initial waiting process, you know, not even like when it had to do with, you know, me, do you think you handled it well?
No.
Why didn't you what about it didn't you handle well, and how would you give different advice for young girls and guys now, I guess?
Yeah. You know, I wasn't handling my waiting well at all. And I was kind of like, you know what, God? I would put God on a timetable. I'm like, all right, God, I'm going to give you like 2 years. Or actually, I don't ever think I gave him that much time. But I'm like, I'm going to give you like 6 months. Find me my man. Where's my man? This is like around, I don't even know what age I was. But I'm like, all right, what's up? Even during his, like the time period of the timetable that I gave him, I'm like, you taking too long. I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to find it myself. I'm dating all these random guys. Didn't get anywhere. And you know when you're doing something wrong, but you're doing it anyways? It's like, I need everyone to stop right now. Like, if you can look yourself in the mirror, like, what am I doing right now? I know it's wrong, but I'm doing it anyways because I don't want to wait any longer. Whatever it is, grab it and stop doing it. Because, like, I wasted so much time. I gave myself away so much for no reason. And I knew I was doing the wrong thing. I wasn't waiting. But I didn't handle it well. I didn't. And to be honest, like, what advice can you give? I can give advice, but it really is so hard because when people were giving me advice and they were already married, I was like, you don't understand. You don't get it. So like they were telling me good sound stuff, but I'm like, you don't get it. You're married already. You have what I want. I don't want to hear like, oh, it's so beautiful. Oh, enjoy your singleness. It was so fun. I'm like, you don't get it. You've been married for 3 years. You have what I want. I don't want to hear what you're saying. So I get it. I get you. And I get what they were saying too, because they were right. But
yeah, I think our like culture, especially in the church, but just the whole culture at large, has made like an idol of like being married.
Oh, 100%.
And like enforce that to little girls.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And it's that like until you find that person, like even if you have like, you know, have everything else, even if you have God, like it's not going to be enough because you're not living the fullness of life that, you know, that you're supposed to have that until you finally get married.
Yeah.
Like everything else like doesn't compare.
Yeah.
You know? So and I think we've kind of made it to be like an idol, you know, in a sense that you need, like that's just something that you need. And I think it robs so many people, especially so many young ladies. I think men, the pressure is a lot less. It robs them of like the freedom and the beauty of your singleness. Like, Jessica probably expound on it more, but like in her singleness, like if she didn't have all that time, this channel, like her YouTube channel would have never been a thing.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
think about that a lot.
Like so many things that she was able to do and like ways that she was able to grow and like have certain friendships that matured, like that wouldn't have been able to happen if she you go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really important part of my journey or my story in waiting. Like God had a plan for me. There was purpose in my waiting, and there's a purpose of why I got married later. I don't want to say late or later because I don't want to discourage anyone, because 30 is not old. I want to continue to remind people that 30 is not old to get married. But if I had gotten married when I wanted to at like 23, 24, like I quit my job at 25, but I was living at home with my parents still. And when I quit my job to do YouTube, I was making $300 a month off of YouTube, or maybe it was like $300 to $500 a month. But if I was married and we were like I had a house or like got pregnant, there was no way I would have been able to just say, oh, I'm going to quit to do this full time, because like we had things to do, you know? So I really think that there was beauty in it that I couldn't see at the time, that it was actually a blessing to wait, because there's no way I would have been able, I mean, there could have been a way, But at the time, I just don't believe there would have been a way because I really was not making a lot at all. Like I was making like $300 to $500. You just couldn't do that. So if I had gotten married when I wanted to, things would be completely different, you know? And I don't think I would have ended up with you. That's for sure. So, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, and I think I'm trying to find the right words, in that like there really truly is a beauty in that period of life. When I think about like me and my friends when we were all single, and I know this isn't a topic about singleness, but I think it's such a beautiful thing. Like when we were all single and like hanging out together, like the friendship that we were able to form and like bond, it's something special, you know? And like now that I'm married, like marriage is fantastic and it's great, but it's not the same with my friends, you know? And like that's okay.
Yeah.
Like there's natural transitions in life, but that time period, God, like you can use that, I don't say God, but you can use that to do like just beautiful things, discover what partially your purpose, you know? Help become the person that you will be into, the thing that you're waiting for.
Yeah. You know what was the hardest part for me, honestly? Or one of the hardest parts? Because me and God, I said we like this. We locked in, baby. Like, I feel like God told me, and this can get touchy because a lot of people say, oh, God told me so-and-so's my husband. But I'm like, I don't be believing people when they say that. But it really did happen to me. But I feel like God told me that Jonathan was my husband. He told me this like 5 years before we started dating. Years. I don't know how long it was. Years before. But I'm like, this is my husband. I'm like, I don't see it. Like, what are we doing? But knowing that, and like you weren't ready, and like all this crap was going on, I still went and dated other people because I'm like, okay, well, let me know when the time is right, and then I'll slide over there. But in the meantime, I'm gonna do my thing. Definitely didn't wait properly with that either. But I felt like I didn't have time. I'm like, God, you take too long. You taking too long. Me and God, we had some serious conversations. I'm like, I don't know what you're doing up there. I don't know if you put my prayer request to the side, but I'm going to need you to get with the program, God. Please. Like, please. Everyone else is getting it. What about me? What about me? But, yeah, I just wasn't, it wasn't computing. Math wasn't mathing for me.
Yeah. And that's just so good. And it just kind of shows to, like, everything goes, like, better when you go on God's timing.
Yeah.
You know, like, we were talking about, me and Jess been reading through, like, Genesis, like, trying to.
Yeah.
And like, you know, just like talking about for example Sarah and Abraham in the Bible, it's that God made them the promise that they would have a child, and like, okay, all right, so you think about like when you're waiting for something, it's like a certain amount of time passes and it's like, all right, still waiting,
and then you're like, did I hear right?
And then like you start questioning everything. And then that's when they went out of, you know, the right way of the right way of doing things. And then Sarah had Abraham have a baby with another woman, you know, and that only ended up having more trauma. Like it added more trauma. So like, would you say that the way you were doing it, when either waiting for me or waiting for a husband in general, would you say that added, like, how would you like say that added like trauma, or did it, or anything?
I mean, I don't know if I would say it was trauma, but I think like when it goes back to the whole Sarah story, it's kind of like, okay, God promised me something. I was like, it's taken a while. I said, maybe let me help him. It's like thinking like, let me help God a little bit, because I think he needs a little bit of help. So I'm gonna go ahead and find a way to get this done, because like I know it's like, say God said, Jess, you're gonna have $1 million, so you're gonna be a millionaire. It's like, all right, bet. And he told me that 15 years ago. I'm like, let me go just rob the bank for $1 million. Like maybe that, like, let me help you, God, because you clearly, I feel like you need some help because it's not here. Obviously, that's not true. God does not need help, and even if he did, it would not be for me. Like, who am I? But yeah, me trying to like do things in my own way. Like even when I was trying to like, when I heard like you were supposed to be my husband or whatever, I was like, all right, well then let's do this now. Like, what are we doing? I'm trying to like rush ahead of God, and rushing ahead of God does nothing, because God's not going to try to catch up to you to give you what you want. It's like, oh, all right, Jess got there early. Let me speed and get there. God was never in a rush. He walked everywhere. Even people like, my daughter is dying, help me. He's like, okay, I'll be there when I get there. It's like, he's not in a rush. So we're over here panting. I'm over here running speed fast. And when I get there, I'm like, this didn't turn out right. I'm looking back, I'm like, God, you're not here yet? Where are you? There's a lot of God, where are yous back in the day. But wait, did you want to say something else? I was about to transition a little bit.
I'll say for myself, I certainly, that's so weird. Why did I say it like that?
I certainly.
No, but I definitely have some scars because of not waiting and like trusting God's timing. Not necessarily for, marriage for marriage, but like for like in terms of sexual sin, like sexual like immorality kind of things.
Yeah.
Whether it be through porn or just like girls that, me like going outside of God's timing on those things, like it warped my kind of like my mindset about those things. And like the scars I carried from it could have been avoided if I would have just trusted God and his timing.
Yeah.
And it's like, I was trying to do the right thing, but I kept messing up. But it was because like I was trying to do it on my own strength and not like leaning on God and his strength.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that is important because people are always like, I can't do this. How am I supposed to do this? And it's like, you don't have to do it by yourself, you can't do it in your own strength because we're human. We want to just, go with our fleshly desires, but we have to ask, like, God, please help me, like, change my heart, like, rewire my brain, like, not that God take away my desire, because I feel like the desire for sex is normal, I would hate to pray, God, take away my desire for sex, and then like I get married and I'm like, hey, can I have that back real quick? It's like, be normal, but like, it's not the desire for sex that you want taken away. It's like, help me with my self-control,
Yeah. And it's kind of just like, for me, it was taking what he says to be true, especially things about, myself.
So, when it came to our courtship, when we were dating,
yeah,
we can talk about, because a lot of people want to know, like, how did you guys wait? Like, how did you blah, blah, blah. Babe.
I think, well, I mean, I don't care about being, I'm open to be honest. Like, there were many times, there were times where we were like unsuccessful in our, in our waiting journey. And it was something that we definitely beat ourselves up about pretty bad, like pretty harshly, and just like the failing. It's like, God, like I want to do what's right, but I can't. I want to wait on you, but I can't. And I think it's when we took, the call, like when, Jesus talks about like temptation, where he says like, if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off, chop it off, throw it away. If your eye causes, so we weren't cutting off our hands, but it's like, if God's calling us to like a certain level of holiness, how much so, like, are we willing to like risk our level of comfortability for this, right? So we would, not hang out. I like just had her own house, her own apartment, and I would not go to her apartment unless there was someone else there.
Jonathan had me in the 7th grade relationship guards, like, oh, your parents aren't home, I can't come. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, it was hard. It's what we had to do though. But like, we were very strict for a certain period of time. Yeah. And I'm not gonna lie, I hated it. I hated every minute of it, because it was even worse, because at the time I'm like, this man not even telling me he want to marry me, but we out here like, the fact that there was no end goal, I was like, this is not gonna work. Like, how long do we have to do this for? You're not even sure if you want to be with me. Like, if I knew like, okay, we're getting married next year, like, okay, 1 month at a time, girl, 1 day at a time. But I'm like, we can get married for another 6 years.
But you had the promise from God, so why was you worried about me?
Yeah, but you was playing. I'm like, maybe it was a different Jonathan. I was like, is there ain't another Jonathan Wallace out here? Anybody?
Hey, when you have she had the promise from God, and she was looking for confirmation from me.
I mean,
no, I'm not.
I needed a little bit of both, okay? I was like, hello, you're not following God's plan. It took much longer to tell Jonathan than I will never understand why I found out so early. Maybe I was delusional. Maybe God's like, girl, I didn't tell you nothing. It just happened to work out.
He talked to you. Because you told me how it happened, and it sounds pretty
It sounds legit.
convincing.
What did I tell you? Because somebody asked me the other day and I couldn't remember. Like, how'd you hear from God? And I'm like, I can't even lie. I don't remember exactly. There was like a few different times.
You said you were in the supermarket and something.
Oh, man. That one hurt me. I feel like I started crying in the supermarket. Okay, quick side note. I was in the supermarket one day. This is before me and Jonathan were even dating. I'm just pushing my cart and like getting ice cream. And I just heard like you and Jonathan are going to be together, but he's going to date somebody else first. And I was like, I heard it clearly. I know that wasn't my own thoughts because that was not my plan. I didn't want that. I just felt my eyes just tearing up. I'm like, bruh, no. And it's crazy because when it happened, when he started dating somebody else, I didn't even remember. I was like, this is not the plan. What's going on? Like, why is this happening? I didn't remember, but like I said, me and God, we locked in. He be telling me things like audibly. And then I did have like this one dream and I was like, oh, we get married for sure. But you got to be careful with them dreams because sometimes you dream what you want. You're thinking about it so much. But I'm not a dream specialist, but you can carry on.
Yeah, I don't even know what we were talking about before we got to the
like our guardrails and like all the things.
Yeah,
we were
so doing. we were really, and I think we said it in a previous video, like holiness over comfortability.
Yeah,
and all of that didn't come from me, you know, like that was like a God, like God did kind of thing for real, like because He's the one that put like those guardrails in my heart and kind of gave me the gave me the power to enforce them, especially when Jess didn't want to.
Yeah. Now to be clear, I wasn't like dropping jaws, like let's just forget this, let's have sex. But I was like, damn, you can't even come over. There was a time where Jonathan was like, I don't think we should drive together. I'm like, you can't pick me up so we can go to blah blah blah. But only because like when it was time to drop me off, it's like let's sit in the car and talk. And then we started looking each other's eyes. And I'm like, hey, I don't want to talk no more.
I don't want to talk no more.
How do you do other things? You know what I'm saying? But then he was like, we can't be in the car together. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, so it was like, I knew that we could get away with being, you know, fine like 9 out of 10 times. Mm-hmm. But I knew a 10th time would be creeping up.
The enemy is not going to get you on the first time because he wants you to think,
let me tell you a pro tip. About the enemy. The enemy will let you be successful without temptation on many different occasions, so that you will loosen up your focus, that you will loosen up, you know, your awareness, and then fall. And when you fall, he's gonna be like, "Damn, I can't believe you fell. You piece of crap. You piece of garbage.
Yeah,
you stink. You stink." And then like in your head, it's like, "I stink. Yeah. But I think the biggest change happened for us. Well, at least for me, is like when I realized my like identity. And I realized that I'm not my mistakes. I am what God says about me. And so when I'm acting not like what He says, I'm not acting like myself. I thought it was the opposite. I thought I was trying to act like God said. I was trying to act like God says, but it's like I am what God says. When I'm not acting like Him, I'm acting unlike myself. If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I feel you. I think it's also really important, like if you're in a relationship or dating or engaged or whatever and you want to wait, I think it's important, you got to say it out loud, like have that conversation, because once you say it out loud in a conversation, you both are holding each other accountable. It's like, dang, because even if you start getting close, it's going to be in the back of your head, like you start taking off a shirt or something, it's like, dang, low-key, we're not supposed to be doing this. It's going to at least be there. But I feel like if you're both just kind of like, maybe we should wait, but like it's not spoken, you don't have that accountability there with each other to be like, someone's usually gonna be like, all right, that's enough. Like, all right, let's simmer down. There's been some times where like, we're like, all right, let's turn the lights on, or like, let's finish this movie, or just Netflix, no chill, just Netflix.
I think the biggest tool that you can give yourself at least in terms of like waiting, like sexually, because the waiting topic is just so broad. We could probably talk about it for like 8 different episodes. Yeah. But in terms of the sexual aspect of it, it's one of the only sins that like God says to flee, like flee,
run away,
from, like run away,
sprint.
So it's like, don't even put yourself in that position. You know, some people have different sex drives or different like experiences with sex. Like I know plenty of like people that could hang out and not like feel that way or have like a higher sense of self-control in that manner, and like their struggle is something else. Like if that's you, glory be to God. Good for you. But if it's not, it's like being honest with yourself. It's like, how much so do you want to like how much so do you want the thing that you say you want?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And what are you willing to do to get it? Because it's like, of course, I wanted to just, Jonathan, come over, let's watch a movie, or like, let's go on vacation and stay in the same room. Like, we went on vacation together. Not only did we get different rooms, they were in different locations. So he stayed at one hotel and I stayed at an Airbnb a little bit further away, because you can stay at the same hotel if you want to, but like, let's be serious. Like, what are you, 2 doors down? You're basically staying, well, I don't want to say that, because some people have way more self-control, and like you said, but like, we had to take serious precautions to make sure, like, let's not fold again. Like, you got to be serious. How bad do you want it? You know?
Yeah. And it's like, let God, and this conversation probably sounds like nonsense, like if you're not a believer in God. And
yeah,
like,
because some of our friends are like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
What a waste of money.
Many people were like, what are you guys? You guys are silly. Even
Yeah.
even some of our Christian friends. Yeah, but it's like, trusting God, like asking him, what boundaries should I set?
Mm-hmm.
And when he tells you, even if it makes things uncomfortable or sounds silly to other people, like, let him guide you into it and trust him in that process.
Yeah. There's some couples who like don't kiss until they're married.
I mean, if that's what you got to do, it's what
Would
you
you
got to
have
do.
went along with me if I was like, look, I'm not trying to kiss until we're married?
Yeah.
Like dating day one?
Yeah.
You wouldn't be like, nah, chill, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 100% sure there would have been times where I tried,
You would have
but
tried, even though I said I'm not kissing you until we're getting married.
I mean, we both made statements and went back on them. But it just goes to show that like being on the same page with your partner.
It's so important. It helps a lot.
If you're on the same page, just don't even try. I'm almost like, don't even try, because it's like it's useless. Like, your partner's gonna drag you down if you're not on the same page.
Oh, if you're not on the same page. I thought you said if you're on the same page, don't even try.
No,
like,
no.
Let me see
If
where
you're
you're going with this for.
If you're not on the same page, don't even try.
Yeah, it's not like maybe I can get him on my page or I can get her on my page. It's like, yeah.
It's
Don't.
silly.
You're just making your life harder. Life is
It's
hard
silly.
enough.
All right, but let's get back to like the waiting, not like necessarily from the sexual sense, but from in terms of like a broader sense of like, I guess, like the relationship that you want. Maybe you're a boyfriend, girlfriend, broke up. Maybe you're a husband, wife going through a tough time. My voice just cracked crazy. A tough time. Wow. All right, maybe you're a husband and wife going through a tough time.
Tough time. Yeah.
Going through a tough time, or whatever it is. Like, how do you like get through that waiting period?
Yeah. I mean, I can only speak from, our situation that we have spoke about before, but like during the waiting, like, I'm not going to sit here and act like, oh, it's just so easy. Just wait. Sorry, I don't want to burp in the camera, or in the mic, but the waiting was difficult. I mean, and it was only 3 months, but I mean, at the time I didn't know how long it was going to be. I'm like, is it forever? Is it over? Like, how long? But the first like 2 weeks, I wanted to die. I'm not going to lie. I was having the worst time of my life. I feel like every morning I woke up, I was so mad. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm alive again. Like, I have to live this feeling for another 24 hours. That's how I felt during the first few days. I mean, I felt like I wanted to die for like 2 weeks, but I started to get a hold of myself. I'm like, all right, what are we going to do to get through this? And I would just like, God, I need you, not even for like every hour. Like, I need you for every second, because I don't know what to do next. Like, I literally did not know what to do. And this sounds so dramatic, but like, I was just like, we're supposed to be getting married. Like, not that we had that conversation, but I'm like, we spoke about this. What's going on with the plan? I was so confused. I didn't know what to do. But I really just started to press into God. I was watching sermons. Look, YouTube and me, my suggestions, they knew exactly what to tell me, because I was watching sermon after sermon. I was reading the word. I was praying. I found devotionals. I was writing in my journal. Oh my gosh. Like, I was just like, God, it's me and you. It's me and you, because I need you to speak to me. I need you to tell me something. I need to hear from you. And he was a little quiet for a little bit, but I was like, okay, well, let me press in more. I need more God. I need more Jesus, because I knew if I tried to do it by myself, I was just going to make wrong decisions. I was going to go out and start drinking or partying. And I did. After a few weeks, I decided to come back out of my house and like go out with my friends and like get back to living a normal life, because I'm like, okay, life is not over, girl. Like, you fine. You gonna be all right. But in the beginning, I was like, God, it's me and you. Not the police.
They can't hear it in the microphone.
No, I'm like, all right. Okay. I was like, God, it's me and you. I need you right now. Like, I need you so much. And during that time, actually, the song by Maverick City came out, Wait on the Lord. And boy, I was bumping that up and through my apartment. I lived alone, and that was my song. I had to meditate. Like, I was like, oh, I need to renew my strength. Let me mount up. Like, what is it? Mount up on the wings like eagles or something like that. I'm like, mount me, Lord. I'm waiting. Mount me. I want to fly. So I was really pressing in. What about you?
Yeah, for me in that period of after we broke up, it was hard for me, differently than Jess, because I was the one with, control, right? It's like that we broke up. For anybody that doesn't know, that's new. It's like she was like, "Are you gonna marry me or not?" Pretty much. And
No, that's not what I said, y'all.
I mean, I'm trying to cut to the chase. He told me I'm always long-winded. Are you gonna marry me or not? And I didn't have an answer. And like, at that point in my life, I was just so indecisive.
Mhm.
Undecisive.
I
I was so indecisive, and with me and God, I was just so frustrated, because it's like, it was waiting for answers. It's because like during our relationship, as much as I liked and loved Jess, I didn't have peace.
Yeah.
And I was just like, God, give me peace, please give me peace. And if you're not giving me peace, tell me to like that it's not her. And I just felt just so unsettled. So when we broke up, like I was really, really sad and really mourning the loss of the relationship. But it kind of put me on a path to like, God, I just really want answers. Please just give me something, anything. And then I ended up going away to Atlanta for a rotation for school. And while I was there, I'm like, God, you're gonna talk to me. And man, he made me wait, even though like I was doing everything in my power to seek him. I remember I was going to parks. I hiked mountains, and the first thing he told me, and I was just sitting in the quiet, like in a park for like an hour, like no phone, no nothing, like just sitting in the park. He told me, if you needed to know the answer right now, I would give it to you. I think I'm quoting it a little bit wrong, but that's the gist. Like, if you needed the answer, you'd have it.
You came here for answers. I'm gonna give you me.
Yeah, and then the next time when I went to the mountain, I'm like, I'm on the mountain for sure. He gonna talk to me up here, but he didn't. Like, basically, he said, you come looking for answers, but I'm gonna give you myself. And I'm like, well, that's nice and everything, but like, I need to know, like, when I come back home in a few weeks, am I gonna marry? Like, am I gonna be ready to marry Jess or not, or is it? And he made me wait for the answer. And that was just really hard, because I was just like so uncertain, and I just felt so off for a while. But I realized that all that time in waiting, all that time in uncertainty, made me rely on him God so much, that was the time where I, more than any other time in my life, it was the most uncertain, the most uncomfortable, the most like, I don't know what's going on, is the times that I was the closest to God, because I needed to like rely on him and cling to him for my next step.
Yeah.
So it was in that time, like, where God was molding me as a man to be the person that I needed to be the husband that Jess needed. Like, had I not had that period of time in waiting, had I not had that period of time alone, I wouldn't be the person that I am now, to be the husband that I can be now. That, like, it was the waiting that allowed me to walk into everything that, God had for us.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, I don't even know why, like, when we broke up, we were surprised, because we always talked about breaking up before we got married. Not that it was like oh, cool, let's break up one more time before we get married. But like, we knew it was going to come. Even like in our good days, I'm like, I know we're going to break up again before we get married, because the reasoning doesn't matter. But wait, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, no,
Oh.
it's so interesting. Like, you're gonna see in the video that while you were talking, I went, ooh, because like it's funny, like, because I just thought about something. Even with our relationship, we rushed into that. Is that like, so we had been in a situationship for a while, then we broke up, and then I was talking to somebody else, And when I came out of that and me and Jess started talking again, it was still a little period of time before, only a small period of time, like a couple months. And then like Jess was like, all right, if you don't want to like basically, make us exclusive, then like I'm leaving.
All right, I'm gonna cut in.
No, that's okay. But it's okay.
No,
it's okay.
I know it's okay with you.
Let me finish the thought.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna cut it. I'm gonna tell y'all something, but okay.
Then so from there, I felt a certain level of like pressure. That I'm like, all right, let's get like, like let's get in the relationship, because I didn't want to lose her. But we knew throughout the entire time of our relationship that like there were little things that like I had unsettled inside of me. I guess it's where the unsettled feeling started.
Yeah.
That it's like we talked about it a few times, that like you said that we probably need to break up. And that all, and I kind of forgot that all happened. This all kind of happened because we jumped ahead of God's timing in the first place.
Yeah, because our like the first year or 8 months, however long of our relationship, it was unsettled the whole time. I always felt like we weren't quite there because we jumped ahead of God's timing. I don't know how ahead we jumped, but it doesn't even matter. We jumped ahead of God's timing. We got into a relationship before we were supposed to. I mean, glory to God, it worked out, but it was raw. It's like the children of Egypt or Israel. Who is it?
Israel.
The children of Israel. Whoever, they could have got to where the promised land
40
like
years.
quicker, but it took them way longer because they just weren't paying attention. They weren't listening, And I feel like our journey was way longer than it needed to be because we weren't listening. But I do want to say, ladies, listen to me real quick. I'm gonna zoom in on me right now because it made the pattern of me giving Jonathan these little ultimatums throughout our relationship was because I felt like, we had a situationship for like 3-ish or something years before we actually got together. And I felt like Jonathan was always so comfortable with just coasting with me because that's what I allowed him to be comfortable with coasting with me. And I remember it was Christmas. It was Christmas Day. And like we were kind of talking again after he got out of like whatever.
Can't believe you ruined the good momentum of where we were going.
Yeah, nah.
To backtrack.
Nah, because you like, Jessica gave me an ultimatum. I'm like, nah, I ain't the ultimatum girl. Nah, it's my turn.
I mean, you are, but it's okay.
Anyhow, lock in with me, ladies. So, this is before, like 4 days before we became official. It's Christmas Day. I go to his house for Christmas after my family. And we kiss, okay? We shared a kiss. Don't squirm. What's that?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Cringe. I cringe at old me.
We kiss, and then I get home, and he texts me and say, "Thank you for being my best friend." I said, "Best friend? I ain't kissing none of my other best friends." I said, No. I said, "I'm done. Stop with the friend stuff." I said, "We either together and we kissing, or we're not together and we not kissing." I said, "But I'm not doing this anymore."
No, I do think she was right in that. I mean.
Yeah, I just wanted to explain because I don't want them to feel like, you know how people are. So I just want y'all to be clear. He knows we were there, but y'all wasn't there. So I just want y'all to know. So I was like, wrap that up.
I wish you would have added this to the end because I lost track of what we were saying. We were getting somewhere good.
Okay, because you said something, and I'm like, I ain't gonna let people come after me.
I found it. Stop talking.
Stop talking. What?
That I guess this is kind of like the summary. In that whenever we hop ahead of God's timing, like things go wrong. Like things go worse, take longer. Like it's just the situation always ends up worse. And we realize that in our relationship, in sex before it's time to have sex, and in everything, like anytime that we jumped ahead of what we knew was the right timing for things, it always ended up screwing us in the back end. And it's because I think it's believing, in the waiting, it's believing that God's a good God that has good gifts for you.
Yes. Yeah.
It's it's the thing that he's holding back from you isn't because he's trying to punish you, because he doesn't like you. But it's because that in the waiting, there's either something that he wants to do in you, or the thing isn't for you, but trusting in his character that he is a God that has good gifts for his people. thinking about like the song you said, like wait on the Lord.
Mhm.
Like wait on you. I think wait on you is the name of the song from Maverick City, and like I was listening to the same song too during that time, and like the part that where it talks about like Isaiah, like from Isaiah, that they that wait on the Lord
Mhm.
will renew their strength,
Mhm.
right? They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not be weary. They will walk and not faint.
Mhm.
So what that kind of like shows me is that at whatever stage you are like in your waiting, right? Whether you're soaring,
Mhm.
whether you're running, whether you're walking or crawling, or like you're just like, God, I don't know how I'm gonna get to the next step. Like this waiting is so hard, this waiting is so tough, that God will always, when you rely on him like for your strength, he will always give you enough for that next step.
Yeah.
It's like
100%.
you might like whether you're crawling, it's like you could just get that one hand in front of you, you know,
Mhm.
to that one like whether you could only walk like that next step,
Yeah.
next step,
Yeah.
and he will always give you enough strength to get through.
Mhm.
And then it's just like relying on his strength to trust him that like he has good gifts for you. It's like
Yeah.
all the times he's been, you know, faithful in the past, that he is going to be faithful. He's going to be faithful again.
Mhm. He doesn't run out of faithfulness, or you don't get like a cap, like, oh, I was faithful to her 5 times already. I'm done. I ran out. But to close this, what is a few tips or advice or whatever, even though you kind of just gave some, but to people who are waiting, I don't know, either waiting to have sex or like waiting on something, what is like one top thing you would tell them?
A top thing, I would say, it's kind of based on what I said right before this. Really, press into God, spend time with him. And when I say spend time with him, I mean not like, you know, glance at the Bible app, you
Right.
know, in the morning,
Verse of the day.
verse of the day. No, but like in like the quiet with like sometimes with the physical Bible, or like a physical devotional, or just get some time like away, you know,
Yeah.
time away to like really spend time with him and learn his character.
Mhm.
And then you'll start to be able to trust his character and have enough strength for that next step. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying any of this is easy. Many times
Right.
it's very hard. I don't know what you've been waiting for, but I promise that God will always give you strength for that next step,
Mhm.
you know, and leaning in, you know, another thing is surrounding yourself with good people that are going to help prop you up, and not
Yeah.
get you to try to get it on your own.
Mhm.
Because I feel like especially like in our culture, in our just the way we're geared, it's like, all right, you making me wait, I'm gonna get it on my own.
Yeah.
I'm
Mhm.
gonna get it out the mud. You
Ew.
know, I'm gonna get it out the mud. You know, like it's just like our mindset. Like I'm gonna do it on my own.
Yeah.
I got this.
I got this.
All right, you tripping? I'm like, this mic's all in my mouth. You tripping? I got this.
Yeah.
And you know that, like, that's just gonna make whatever is going on worse. And it's just our natural default. So it's like recognizing when you start to be like, you know what, I'm just gonna do it my own way.
Mhm.
And like seizing that and reminding yourself of like the promise.
Yeah, the promise. Yeah. I think what you said is good, like spending time with God, because it's really hard to spend time with God and then like close your Bible and then be like, all right, well, I'm gonna go have sex now. It's like that conviction, it just keeps growing. I mean, like when you start falling off, like, dang, I ain't read my word in like a few weeks, like you start to see the change in you. It's like, I see I'm tripping because I haven't been reading my word, I haven't been praying, all that stuff. But definitely spend time with God. I have like a little example that I like to use sometime when it comes to waiting. And this is like my favorite example. It may not be the greatest, but it is for me. You know how like you're really hungry and you take food out of the fridge and you put it in the microwave and you're just watching it. You're like, all right, I put it in there for 3 minutes. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm hungry. I'm gonna take it out at 1 minute and 30 seconds because I can't wait anymore. I want to eat. You start eating and it's kind of good. And then you get to like the middle and it's cold. And it's like, dang, now I got to put it back in the microwave. And now you have to wait again. And now you're waiting longer because by the time you did all that and then now you got to put it back in, you could have waited 3 minutes and had the nice hot plate of food and been eating and having a nice meal. It's like, don't stop short the waiting because you can't wait anymore. It's not going to be what you thought it was if you try to do this in my own, I'm just going to take over because I can't wait anymore. It's not going to work out the way you think. You're going to end up waiting much longer. and you're robbing yourself of your hot plate of food. So wait on your hot chicken and rice. I guarantee you it's going to taste so much better, so much sweeter. The waiting is worth it.
Yeah, and I know like many
Did
people
I
are.
snap with that?
Yeah, no, you really did. No, you did. No, you did. I liked it. I really did.
Just kidding. Okay.
That's good, right?
You
That's good,
approve?
right?
You approve?
That's good, right? No, I think that was really good. I think with the waiting, I lost my train of thought. When after you
I'm
said
sorry.
it was no, we'll cut it. No, okay, I remember. Basically, God. It's kind of like we keep going back to God, but like Jesus,
always
God,
back to
whatever,
God.
will give you the strength that you need in order to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest thing I'll say, because when you try to do the waiting on your own strength, or try to get it out the mud on your own strength, or whatever on your own strength, you will fail. You're gonna fail. You're gonna mess up.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you that because I failed a
Same.
lot.
Same.
But because like God will help you, especially if you're trying to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had one more thought, but I lost it. So I'm going to it is what it is. All right. So I really hope that this was helpful, even a little bit. We just want to encourage you guys that there's winning in the waiting. Like there really is. Like, man,
Good.
I'm on a roll. Hold
That's
on. Come
good.
on, Sarah Jakes.
That's good.
There really is. Yeah. So we encourage you to just press into God, pray about it, get an accountability partner, talk to someone. Don't hide your failures, because like, just don't hide your failures. Talk to somebody about it. Find solutions, circle yourself with great friends, like Jonathan said earlier, and you're going to be okay. It's not going to be forever. It may feel like it in the moment, but now that I look back, I'm like, wow, that was it really wasn't that long of a waiting period. And I just felt like it was the end of the world, but I promise you it's not. And there's going to be beauty at the finish line. So just walk with God. He's got you. He's never going to be like, oh, I'm tired of you. Like, I remember that little promise I gave you? Forget it. Like, it's coming. Just keep walking forward. You got it.
Yeah, and I'm sorry for anyone watching this actually, I'm not sorry. But for anyone that's watching this that's not a believer, that doesn't believe in God.
I am sorry for you.
Well, yes, but yeah. I mean, and a lot of this might sound crazy, but yeah. No, I just want to acknowledge them.
Yeah, you are acknowledged.
You're acknowledged. And if you have it's like, oh, I don't understand all this stuff you're talking about God, but just feel free to hit Jess up. And
What about you?
I mean, I don't my Instagram. I don't be on Instagram, or we gonna get better.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
fine. It's you. What is this we stuff?
I'm saying we gonna get better.
Anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let us know what else you guys wanted to talk about. I really hope this was helpful. We weren't all over the place, were we? Maybe a little bit.
All over the place.
A little bit, but it's coming from a good place. We love you guys so much, and we'll see you guys in our next episode. Bye.
See ya.